Hey guys, it's Neon and this is CLOWNFISH TV and we're going to do some drawing today. I've got my iPad 12.7 inch iPad Pro and I'm going to try to draw Pennywise the Clown for all you guys, and you can see how I work with my iPad, and I really do enjoy it. I got it a couple of months ago and I'm doing a lot of my comics drawing with this and sketching, and it's really a lot of fun. So let's start drawing. I'm using Clip Studio Paint. And I'm going to select a pencil. I'm going to get a light blue pencil to do some sketching, and we're going to sketch out Pennywise the Clown. Well, hopefully it'll look like Pennywise the Clown when I get done. So usually what I do is I work on a layer, and I'm really a pretty messy drawer. I don't really do a whole lot of really the detail until I get everything kind of blobbed out the way that I want it. Again, this is digital, which is a lot more forgiving than pencil. And I don't know how many of you guys out there have used the iPad Pro 12.7 inch to work on, but I love it because it's basically like working on paper compared to working on a Cintiq, which is what I usually use to do my drawing, or a Unova tablet. And we're just kind of sketching out the basics here, and I can work with this just to kind of get an idea of what we're doing. Now I can resize all of this stuff by selecting, and we're going to make his face a little bit bigger. And again, I'm kind of old school. Even when I'm working in digital, I still like to use a pencil tool to do my drawings with, to sketch everything out. Now, my Pennywise is probably going to be a little more cartoony. It's not going to be like a photorealistic, because it's just not the way I like to draw. So I can get my eraser tool here and get rid of some of these extra lines. This crazy hair going on here. Now this, for me, this is actually the most fun part of drawing, is just getting the shape of things, because eventually, you know, we'll have to go do some more detail, but we just want to make sure we have enough room on the paper for everything. Now, I've been drawing for a pretty long time, so if you guys are just starting and you haven't done a lot of drawing, it's probably going to take you longer than it takes me. But I've been doing this a really long time, and I actually used to work on comic books, and I still do some comic stuff on occasion now. But I thought it'd be fun to start doing some sketches on YouTube, because there seems to be a lot of people who really like drawings and working on art on YouTube. Now let's see if we can get a balloon in here for Pennywise. Gotta get the balloon in here. This is a really rough drawing. Now I'm going to do my drawing on one layer, my sketch on one layer, and then I will, actually you'll see how I work, and again I'm working with Clip Studio Paint and on my iPad, and I will actually create some other layers to work on, some ink layers and color layers, and I guess I better save this, so we'll call this one Pennywise. Seems like a good name, right? Okay, and again, this is all being done on iPad, which is really cool because a couple years ago I know people tried to use iPads to draw with, but they really didn't have the technology then. The Apple Pen, or the Apple Pencil, sorry, I mean, has definitely changed everything. I mean, I'm even doing all of my professional work now on the iPad, which is great. I mean, it took a little while to get used to a smaller screen, but it is probably the closest thing to drawing with an actual pencil that we'll get. Okay, so we're going to go make another layer, and here's our paper layer, so you can see that's paper. And this is our pencils, so I might actually call this, just so I know where I'm at, call this a rough layer. And then we're going to make an ink layer. This is how I do it. You don't have to draw, or don't have to do things exactly the way I do. Now, what I'm going to do now, excuse me, with this, is I'm going to knock down the opacity a little bit, and you can do that by sliding this little gizmo up here. And so now I kind of have an idea of where everything's going to be, and I'm going to go pick one of my favorite pen nibs here, and I usually use the, let's see, this is a 30 point. That's a little too thick. I usually use the G pen. I like the G pen tool. So, okay, so let's get our G pen set up here, and we're gonna start inking on the. Let's see, I'm on the ink layer. Okay, cool. And let's start drawing Pennywise. And I'm working with a finer tip because I can get more detail in there, and then as I get them to look the way that I want them to look, I'll actually go in and I'll thicken some lines up or take some lines away. But right now I just want to get a nice kind of clean line art, and we'll change some things as we go. Like I said, my Pennywise is probably going to look more cartoony, just because that's the way I draw. But you'll see, we'll add more detail with when we go ahead and color him. This for me is actually the most fun. I like the ink because that's really when I think the drawing actually kind of comes to life. For me, is when it's being inked. And it's probably one of my favorite things. I'm really picky about which pens I like to work with, and everybody's got their idiosyncrasies. But I like a thinner pen because my feeling is you can always go back and add line weighting later. But I like those really kind of thin lines just to get started. I'm going to go back when I color this and add some things to it. Clean it up a little bit to really getting the mouth right is hard with Pennywise. So I was really surprised, watching the movie, because I just watched the movie recently, and I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and so I did see the original with Tim Curry, and watching the new one, It's like, wow, this Pennywise is like so much scarier. But I still like Tim Curry quite a bit. I thought Tim Curry, for me, really was kind of Pennywise. But he looked kind of like an off-the-shelf, like, bozo costume from, Halloween store. Whereas the new Pennywise is just, he's just pure nightmare fuel. Now, some of this stuff I'm probably going to get rid of. A lot of times I'll just put black lines in there to kind of hold my place until I get the color done. I was also kind of surprised at the movie. I actually kind of expected it to be. I kind of expected it to be a little more violent than it actually was. It really wasn't as gory as I thought it was going to be. It was basically, to me, it came across as being like a PG-13 movie with had a lot of swearing in it. So I think that's kind of where the R rating actually came from. Because I really didn't think, other than Georgie getting his arm eaten in the beginning, I didn't think it was really that gory of a movie. Okay, we're gonna kind of paint this too. So some of these lines, I'm putting them here for now, just as kind of a placeholder, but they might actually disappear entirely by the time we're done. So, oh man, there's a wrong pen. I want this one. No, that's pencil. Yeah, the thing about Manga Studio is it will reset your tool if you select another tool. Whatever you have it, so you kind of have to hit this little tool wrench to lock it into whatever tool settings you had. And that's kind of a pain because sometimes I want to work really fast and it's hard because the tool keeps changing on me. Again, this is just kind of a rough sketch. I'm going to go back in and change some of the line weighting and add things as I finish the drawing. Now I am drawing a little faster than I usually draw because, otherwise this video is going to take like hours. So this is a little faster than I usually draw because I'm kind of trying to do this like a quick sketch. Just to kind of give you guys an idea of how I work with the iPad Pro. It really, this is definitely, for me, has been a game changer because it is so much easier to draw on this, and it really does feel like drawing on paper once you get used to it. It took me a long time to get the settings to exactly where I wanted them, but once you get that set up, it's definitely a huge improvement over trying to work with this big screen that's kind of parked in front of you. And I've really enjoyed working with it, and I wish they had something like this sooner, because I sort of held off for years on working digitally because I like drawing on paper. I've always liked drawing on paper better because I can turn it around and everything. And you can't see now, but I am turning the iPad around to kind of draw where I want to here. And let me see. Okay, so we want... And the great thing about Clip Studio for the iPad is it's virtually identical to the PC version. So, if you're used to using the PC or Mac version of it and you're worried about, switching it up to the iPad, it's like all the features are there. It's got the drop-down menus and everything you can see. So it's a fantastic tool for digital artists, and I really can't recommend it enough. Like I said, it's definitely changed my workflow, and there are other portable drawing tablets, but they're like really bulky, and this thing is just like, and it's great. It's just like carrying a sketchbook with you. And if you can get one, I absolutely would recommend it. Okay, so we're gonna try to get some of these ruffles in here. Now, again, this is a kind of a rough drawing until I figure out what I'm going to do with the coloring on here, because it's... Just want to make sure we've got room for everything. Thank God for digital erasers. Okay, so that's kind of... This is my inks for now. I'm probably going to go back and tweak this. I just wanted to do a really rough drawing so I could get started on the color. And I am going to go through here and change things. So if you're not familiar with working in layers, if you go and look, that you can get rid of that rough. See, and there goes a sketch, and you just have the line drawing left behind. So how I usually work is, especially if I'm going to kind of paint something, which I'm going to do with this, is I'm basically going to create a backdrop for it. So we've got the white paper, but I'm actually going to make another layer. Let me get rid of this. And on this layer, I think I'll just turn off my ink layer for now. And I think I'm just going to pick like a dark purple, maybe. Like maybe just to start with, because that's usually how or dark red. Maybe we'll go with the purple for now. And I'll just paint bucket a layer in here. Okay, well, it's kind of a purple blue. Maybe something that's a little more purple. Yeah, that works. Okay, so now if I go back here and I turn on my inks, I can still see my inks on top of this. This layer right here is what I'm going to work on. It's going to be kind of my like my base color. And a lot of times what I'll do with this, if I'm going to color something myself, is I'll just kind of work with that background for a while until I kind of get the lighting where I want it. So let me take a little bit of black, and we're gonna make this kind of a darker drawing here. And now this is actually going on the layer behind. It's not. If we go up one, maybe get a little red in here, maybe. And let me see here. If we do maybe. Yeah, I might actually do this with the brush. So I've got some different brushes here. Really want to get more red in this. So maybe This is actually on the background. This is actually on the background. It's not doing anything to my line art. And line art sometimes will just wind up being like a holder for I still think I want some more red in this. And there you have it, a quick color sketch of Pennywise the Clown drawn on an iPad Pro. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to CLOWNFISH TV for more art videos, gameplay videos, toy reviews, and pop culture news. This has been Neon for CLOWNFISH TV. Later.